Yeah.
Because, you know, you're the Pope. You say, listen, we welcome everybody. We want everybody at our party.
When Whoopi Goldberg walked into New York Fashion Week at 69 years old, she didn't just arrive at an event, she ignited a global conversation. The EGOT-winning icon, known for her humor, honesty, and timeless individuality, stunned everyone with a dramatically different appearance. Cameras flashed, people gasped, and social media lit up within minutes. The transformation was undeniable, but what began as a simple red carpet appearance turned into a whirlwind of praise, criticism, and speculation. Half the internet called her radiant and confident. The other half worried she looked frail and unrecognizable. What no one knew that night was that behind the glamour, there was a story. One rooted in struggle, reflection, and survival. A divided reaction. As soon as Whoopi's photos hit the internet, opinions spread like wildfire. Fans flooded the comments with admiration, calling her glowing, beautiful, and stronger than ever. Others, however, reacted with concern. Some thought she looked too thin, others suggested she'd gone too far, and a few accused her of relying on weight loss medication. It was as if the world forgot that a woman's body, especially a woman in her 60s, was not a public debate. In minutes, hashtags about her new look trended across social media platforms. What was meant to be a moment of celebration quickly turned into a digital tug-of-war. But the real story, the one hidden beneath the headlines, had begun years earlier, long before she stepped onto that Fashion Week carpet. The comment that changed everything in 2022, while filming the acclaimed drama Till, Whoopi played the grandmother of Emmett Till, a performance that moved audiences worldwide. But after one screening, a single comment shifted her world. A woman approached her and, trying to compliment her acting, mentioned that the fat suit she wore must have been uncomfortable. There was only one problem. Whoopi hadn't worn a fat suit. That was her real body. At nearly 300 pounds, she smiled politely, but the words cut deep. She later admitted that moment stayed with her. It wasn't just about vanity, it was a mirror she couldn't ignore. For the first time, she saw herself not as the confident performer she'd always been, but as someone who had to think seriously about her health. That offhand remark didn't just sting, it woke her up. Facing the truth that night, Whoopi went home and reflected. She realized her weight wasn't just affecting how others saw her, it was starting to affect her future. At her age, she knew the risks: heart problems, diabetes, fatigue. The laughter, energy, and sharpness that defined her could fade if she didn't make a change. It wasn't about looking younger or fitting in, it was about living longer. So she began a quiet, personal journey toward health. Diets, exercise, consultations, she tried it all. Like many, she lost some pounds, gained them back, and repeated the cycle. And through it all, she stayed in the public eye, where every fluctuation became a talking point. The irony wasn't lost on her. When she was heavier, she was mocked. When she began to change, she was questioned. But she kept going, because for Whoopi, this wasn't about pleasing the world. It was about taking back her life. The hidden struggle. In interviews, Whoopi began opening up about her health challenges. She admitted how difficult it was to lose weight at her age and how judgment from strangers made it harder. Online comments didn't just criticize, they followed her everywhere. People speculated, joked, and assumed. But Whoopi chose transparency over secrecy. She shared that she had tried countless methods, some that worked, many that didn't. Behind her calm on the view, she was learning how to rebuild her habits, one choice at a time. By the time she appeared at Fashion Week in 2025, people saw the physical transformation, but very few understood the emotional one that had come before it. The double standard. What made the situation so unfair was how predictable the reaction was. If Whoopi had stayed heavy, she would have continued facing cruel jokes about her size. But now that she was slimmer, people claimed she'd betrayed herself. The double standard was glaring. Society, especially Hollywood, has a strange way of turning women's bodies into battlegrounds. Too much of one thing and you're ridiculed. Too little and you're accused of faking it. Whoopi, true to her nature, refused to play the game. She reminded everyone that her journey wasn't about chasing beauty. It was about fighting for her health. "It's not about vanity," she said. "It's about survival." And that simple statement turned the story from gossip to something meaningful. More than a transformation. What Whoopi achieved wasn't just physical, it was emotional and spiritual. She didn't disappear into hiding, ashamed of her choices. She kept showing up. Every morning on The View, every appearance, every laugh, she continued being herself. Her openness gave people permission to be human too, to admit imperfection, to say, "I'm struggling, but I'm trying." In a world obsessed with filters and denial, that honesty became her greatest act of strength. By turning her vulnerability into visibility, Whoopi reminded everyone that transformation isn't just about the outside, it's about reclaiming control over your story. The bigger picture, society's reflection. The debate around Whoopi's appearance grew beyond her. It sparked conversations about how society treats aging, women, and especially older women in the public eye. If someone as respected and accomplished as Whoopi Goldberg could still be torn apart for her looks, what hope did anyone else have? The situation revealed something deeper, a cultural obsession with perfection that leaves no room for grace. Fans began defending her not just as a celebrity, but as a symbol, someone who refused to let others define her worth by a number on a scale. Hollywood's moment of truth. Whoopi's honesty forced Hollywood to confront uncomfortable questions. Why do we still equate youth and thinness with value? Why do we cheer for authenticity, but punish it when it's inconvenient? Her journey became a mirror held up to an industry, and to all of us. Through her transformation, she wasn't asking for applause, she was challenging perceptions. She reminded everyone that change doesn't erase authenticity. It proves growth. And for a woman who has spent decades breaking boundaries, from being one of the first Black women to host the Oscars, to becoming one of only 18 people in history to win an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. Her latest chapter was simply another form of courage. Whoopi's response, Grace Under Fire. Despite the noise, Whoopi stayed grounded. When asked about the criticism, she smiled and said, "People will talk. That's what they do." Her calm, unbothered response showed a kind of wisdom that only comes with age and experience. Instead of feeding the negativity, she kept focusing on her work, continuing to host The View, producing projects, mentoring young talent, and lending her voice to causes she believes in. She made it clear that her worth wasn't tied to how others saw her. It was tied to how she chose to live. A message for women everywhere. Perhaps the most powerful part of Whoopi's story is how it resonated beyond fame. For countless women, especially those in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, her journey became a reminder that it's never too late to care for yourself, to take back your health, to start over, to prioritize longevity over judgment. She turned what the internet called a controversy into a conversation about self-respect. She proved that transformation doesn't mean losing yourself. It means finding a stronger version of who you already were, redefining aging in the spotlight. At 69, Whoopi Goldberg refuses to slow down. She's proof that purpose doesn't retire. Between The View, her film projects, and her advocacy, she remains one of the most visible and influential voices in entertainment. And now her transformation has become more than gossip. It's a statement. Aging isn't about fading away, it's about evolving with intention. She may have lost weight, but she never lost herself. And in a world that often values youth over wisdom, that's revolutionary. Conclusion: living life on her terms. In the end, Whoopi Goldberg's transformation isn't about a number, a red carpet, or a viral photo. It's about resilience, self-awareness, and the courage to change in the face of scrutiny. She didn't chase approval, she chased health. She didn't seek perfection, she sought peace. And in doing so, she turned personal evolution into public inspiration. Whether praised or criticized, Whoopi continues to show up, laughing, creating, and living life exactly as she chooses. Her story reminds us all that change isn't something to be feared. It's proof that we're still fighting for ourselves. At 69, Whoopi Goldberg isn't just surviving, she's thriving, unapologetically on her own terms.